The Secure Act will change your financial plan and some of the financial decisions that you make. I'll tell you how coming up. Big changes signed into law on December 20th of 2019, and it's going to impact your financial life. Maybe you've heard of it, but maybe you haven't because really it's been flying under the radar. It's called the Secure Act, and it stands for Setting Every Community Up for Retirement Enhancement. Now, does it live up to that? That's a tall order. Now, that's debatable, and I'll tell you whether it does or not as I share with you the top 7 ways this thing's going to impact your financial life. First, the biggest change, in my opinion, is the age when you must begin drawing money out of your pre-tax retirement accounts. Now, this is called Required Minimum Distribution, or RMD. It used to be that once you turned age 70 and a half, then you're forced to take money out of your pre-tax retirement accounts, like IRAs. Why 70 and a half? I have no idea. In fact, I've always hated that date. Well, the good news is they've moved that age back to 72. Not a big change, but this is still some serious tax savings, thousands of dollars of tax savings for some people. So I'm in favor of this. This change takes effect now for anyone who is not yet age 70 and a half as of December 31st of 2019. The second big change in the Secure Act, and this one I'm just going to tell you I'm not a fan of, is it gets rid of something called the stretch IRA strategy. When you inherit a pre-tax retirement account from someone, you could withdraw all of that money out immediately and pay a whole bunch of tax, or you could pull out just a minimum amount out each year for the rest of your life. By stretching your withdrawals from this inherited account over your entire life, you allowed this money to continue to grow tax deferred, and again, saving you lots of tax. Well, unless you're inheriting an account from your spouse or you qualify for just a handful of other exceptions, the days of stretching your withdrawals from an inherited IRA are gone. With the Secure Act, instead of stretching your withdrawals out over your lifetime, the account now needs to be emptied within 10 years. This means you're being forced to pull out more money over a shorter period of time, and that likely means more tax. And for that reason, I'm not really a fan of this section of the code. But this part of the Secure Act in general has huge tax planning considerations for you. And you may need to rethink your estate strategy and even possibly figure out how to use that Roth IRA even more. The third big change in the Secure Act is removing the age limit on contributing to your IRA. It used to be that if you or your spouse turned age 70 and a half and you were still working, you still had enough earned income, you could contribute to a Roth IRA, a simple IRA if you had one of those at work, or maybe a 401k, but you couldn't contribute to a traditional IRA. It's like age discrimination for funding the IRA. Thankfully, with the passing of the Secure Act, there's no longer an age limit on funding the IRA. You still have to have earned income, though, and that's not Social Security or a pension or withdrawals from your IRA. You actually need to have earnings, be working. And so if you are, and you're age 7 and a half, you can now contribute to an IRA if you want. Now, there's one other change with the IRAs and the Secure Act, and that's related to qualified charitable distributions. This one's very technical, so I'll just mention that qualified charitable distributions are still intact within this new law, and they still allow you to start these qualified charitable distributions once you reach age 70 and a half. So even though they moved the RMD age to 72, this age still stays 70 and a half. But any IRA contributions that you make after turning age 70 and a half will count against the benefit of these qualified charitable distributions. Again, this is super confusing, okay? But ultimately, this is still good news that the qualified charitable distribution is still intact. So make sure you sit down with your certified financial planner to see how this small change could impact you. All right, that's it with the IRA changes under the new law, but the Secure Act brought a big change to 529 plans and how they work with student loans. You can now withdraw up to $10,000 from your 529 plan to pay down student loans. At first glance, you might say, well, this isn't really helpful. If you had money sitting in a 529, you wouldn't have student loans, right? Now, there's actually more application here than you might think. For one, in states like Indiana, where there's a big tax incentive for funding a 529, Even if you're done with school and you've got loans, you may want to consider still putting money in that 529 plan to capture those state tax benefits and then use that money to pay down your loans. On top of that, this also opens up the ability for parents and grandparents to continue to gift to their kids to help them get out from under those student loans. And then not to mention, this new law just makes sense. If 529 plans are there to help you pay for college, it's logical that you should be able to use them to help pay down student loans. So I'm in favor of this change. Will this change or influence the state of Indiana to change their very beneficial tax incentive on funding the Indiana 529 plan? I think it's possible. So take advantage of this now while you still can, and just be watchful for future legislative changes from states like Indiana that have a big tax incentive for 529 plans. The sixth big change in the SECURE Act is that you're now able to use your retirement account to help cover some of the costs of having a child or adopting a child. The limit is $5,000 per person that are able to draw out of your retirement accounts within a year after the child's born or the child's adopted. Now keep in mind, this withdrawal is still taxable. This is not a tax-free strategy. It just means you get to avoid the 10% penalty if you take this money out to help cover the costs of a child or adopting. Be careful when doing this, though. Even though you can now draw this money out of your retirement accounts, it doesn't mean that you should. I would still see this as a last resort so that you keep as much of this precious money as possible set aside for retirement. And finally, what the SECURE Act is actually all about is making some changes to your 401k or retirement plan at work. Now, I'm not going to hit all the changes, but the big one is the new law encourages companies to use annuities as part of their 401k plan. Since annuities can easily be turned into a lifelong income stream like a pension, this bill is actually trying to encourage companies to use annuities within their 401ks. Personally, I think this part of the act is not really that helpful, since anyone can use an annuity in retirement if they want, so I'm not really seeing a lot of benefit here. Other changes in the law that you might see impact your 401k is allowing more part-time workers to become eligible to contribute to the 401k, which is great. And also encouraging small businesses to open retirement plans like a multi-employer plan or a MEP, which I love that too. Finally, the new law allows employers to have auto-enrollment contributions within their 401k go up to 15% instead of the previous 10% cap. So I'm in favor of that as well. There you have it, the highlights of how the new SECURE Act will influence your financial life and financial plan. You already know that a new law itself isn't going to set you up for retirement, as the name might imply. It's you taking the right steps to prepare that will get you there. Likely, there's just a ton of changes in this thing, so likely there are parts of this law that mean you're going to need to make some changes to your finances today. So be sure you reach out to your certified financial planner or talk to them in your next appointment to see how you should apply this to your specific financial life. Leave a comment below if you have one, or if you have any questions, leave those below in a comment. We will get back to you. If you're not already a subscriber to this channel, I'd encourage you to do so and click that bell so that you're notified of all future Wise Money and Next Wise Step videos. All right, until next time, I'm Mike Bernard. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.